And we're on. Welcome to another episode of Aspiring Coaches Podcast. And on today's episode, we have Renee Marino. Renee is a former Broadway actress. She was a main star in Pretty Woman and Jersey Boy. And she was also mentored by Clint Eastwood. She was an international speaker for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi at the World Summit. She is also a communication coach, guiding women and men to gain confidence in themselves and their relationships. Renee, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Justin. I'm so happy to be here.
Same here. And I got to meet Renee earlier this year at the Comeback Challenge, and she created so much impact in the group, in the community. I just saw so many people resonated with her stories, how she sung, how she danced, and it's incredible to see how far she's grown in her journey in the past year. So, first of all,
it has been amazing. Justin, it really has been amazing. And I feel like, the Comeback Challenge was such a gift. The fact that, each day, for those of you who don't know what the Comeback Challenge is, it was Tony Robbins' challenge. And each day he would do a training for us. And then the homework would be to go live in the Facebook group and talk about whatever the subject was for that day. What was really wonderful is that when you do these live videos, you have other members of the group watching, and you kind of really got to know each other, which was so nice. And I feel like I made such wonderful connections during that week. I mean, it was only a week, but it felt like so much longer. And I've stayed in contact with so many of the wonderful members. So that really was such a beautiful gift.
That's incredible. And I just want to tell you some questions. So tell us, when you were back in Broadway, how did it all start for you?
Yeah. Well, I was on Broadway for, let's say about, 10 years. And my childhood dream was to be a performer on Broadway. And it's a lot of hard work. Took many, many years of no's and persevering, but I did it. And it was such a blessing. The show that I opened with for my Broadway debut was West Side Story, The Revival. And that was just absolutely incredible. From there, I did, 4 other Broadway shows, including Jersey Boys. And I had the honor of playing Mary Delgado in Clint Eastwood's Jersey Boys movie. So I got to play the role of Mary on Broadway and in the film, which was just absolutely wonderful. And then from there, I lived in California for like 3.5 years, moved back to New Jersey, and that's when I auditioned for Pretty Woman on Broadway. And it was really great because I was not only cast in the ensemble performing 8 shows a week, but I was, in addition, the dance captain and assistant to the choreographer. So now I was kind of on both sides of the table. I was not just performing, but now I'm helping to run auditions. I'm teaching new cast members the show. I'm running auditions. So it gave me this really amazing perspective after just being a performer for all those years to now have a different eye and say, oh, now I really get it. All those years that I was wondering, like, oh man, I thought I did great at that audition. Why didn't I book that? Or what happened there? Now from this perspective, I could see that so often it's not about you or your talent. It's about what they need, what the character calls for. I'm 5'2", maybe they need someone 5'9". It's all these things that come into play. So I was able to really, have this beautiful perspective now, and it felt full circle. So while I was doing Pretty Woman on Broadway, I had this idea to write a book on communication. And that arose out of just being in the dressing room with my girlfriends, talking about, dating and boys and girls and relationships. And I remember one day a girlfriend of mine saying that she was dating this new guy, and she was kind of stressing about some things. She didn't know how he felt, and she was all confused. And I asked what I thought was the most basic of questions. I said, well, did you talk about it? And she was like, well, no, I didn't want to rock the boat, or no, I don't want to ask this, or I'm scared. And I was like, whoa, this is important. Communication is the foundation of all of our relationships. And the fact that she couldn't even bring herself to have a conversation, I said, now this is where we're running into problems. So I started writing a book. And of course, it was not easy to start writing a book while doing 8 shows a week, 1 day off, on and off trains, never home. But I started doing it. And then Pretty Woman closed in August of 2019, so over a year ago. And right after the show closed, Justin, I knew that I was ready for a new chapter. I always felt something, deep within me that was like, performing is always what you dreamt of, but there's something else, you want to be able to serve with your other gifts. And I always felt like communication was a gift of mine, being able to have direct conversations and talk about how I'm feeling and ask questions. That's a skill that can't be really overlooked because not everyone has that where that comes easy for them. So I knew that it had to do with communication, but I didn't know how, I didn't know what. And then lo and behold, I see an ad pop up with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And I had always been a huge follower of Tony and Dean. I had started, watching a bit, and they talked about that they were going to be doing a live on February 28th. And that happened to be the last day of my husband and I's vacation in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah. Yep. So we're on this beautiful Mexican vacation, and I put it in the calendar that we must go back to our hotel room to watch this live. So the last night of our vacation, after a beautiful dinner and some drinks, we're watching Tony and Dean in the hotel room. And they were talking about a course of theirs called the Knowledge Broker Blueprint. And my husband turns to me and he's like, Renee, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Because I kept telling him, I want to do something with communication. I think it's coaching, but I don't know how to start my own business. Like, I don't know the first thing about starting a business. And this was the answer. So I flew back home to New Jersey, a KBB member, and every day from there, Justin, I started the course March 7th. So a week later, and every day I would watch the lessons, do my homework, implement, started developing my business, got my logo, got my name, this, that. And I just followed along with the steps, with the structure that they offered. And before I knew it, I finished the course in 6 weeks and I was kind of off to the races. I started coaching clients for free just to learn myself and ask questions to find out who my ideal client is. And I've just kind of taken the steps each day imperfectly. I teach imperfect action a lot because I like to say I'm a reformed perfectionist. So it's nice to take action imperfectly and just learn as I go. And slowly but surely, when you do that, you start to develop these little nuggets of confidence, showing yourself that you can do it in spite of the fear. And that's what brings me here.
Wow, that's incredible. And it's amazing that you actually were able to identify that early on, especially we live in a world where technology exists, social media, where people are socially uncalibrated. A lot of people have the struggle today to be able to communicate to one another. And it's amazing how you were able to identify that and able to come up with a solution. And man, like Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi with the Knowledge Broker Blueprint was genius. I think back then in 2019 was the Business Blueprint.
I actually did it in just this past February. So 2020. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And this is a question from my audience. So how would you attract your ideal client?
Yeah. That, I believe, one of the hardest things, everyone, I being a new entrepreneur myself, is really finding your niche, right? And finding the problem that you solve and who you solve it for. And I'm still learning this as I go. And I feel like, the more advanced you become, kind of the tighter your niche gets and you learn more and you kind of see the clients that are becoming attracted to you. So I the best piece of advice I can give to anyone starting out is to start. Just start. Because often what we do is we procrastinate out of safety. We think that we won't start until we're 100% ready and we have everything nailed down and the circumstances and the conditions are perfect. And that never happens. And all that does is keep us stuck in a loop. And before we know it, 2-3 years go by and we're like, I still didn't start. So my whole tactic has been like, leap and the net will appear. So for me, like I said, a great way to find that out is to talk to people. Just talk to people in Facebook groups and start putting messages in Facebook groups that are in the area of expertise that you have. You know, if you're an engineer, kind of go and find groups that are targeted to engineers and put in a sifting question saying something like, well, I know nothing about engineering, so I couldn't even give you an example. But if there are any engineers out there, think of a question that has to do with engineering that you could pose in that group, start a conversation, and then start to develop these connections where you can maybe bring them into your own Facebook group. And you can offer a free webinar or offer to have a one-on-one with them where it's strictly you asking them questions about what they need. So it really is just starting and continually being open and available to learn. And that's, I feel like that is my biggest strength, I would say, is I'm not afraid of making mistakes. I'm not afraid of being imperfect. And because of that, I've been able to just go. And it's not always perfect, right? There are going to be bumps in the road, but that's for any new entrepreneur. So I say start and just start from where you are. And the more people you just, talk to, you ask questions, you're going to start to realize, oh, you know what? I actually need to pivot this way a little bit. I've pivoted myself. As a communication coach, my big grand vision, which is still a vision, is to truly help people step into their power by becoming comfortable with authentic, direct communication, right? Now, communication is such a broad topic. So you could be like, Renee, what the heck kind of communication do you mean? But what I'm talking about is verbal, direct communication. We're in a day and age of technology where we are so attached to our cell phones and our computers that we easily get caught up in communicating behind a screen. And as wonderful as that is, I mean, look, you and I are able to connect from Australia to New Jersey. It's beautiful. But if we don't pair that with what I call old school simplicity, which are those few direct ways that we could communicate before technology, AKA a phone that you pick up to your ear, or in-person conversations, or writing a handwritten letter. Wow, remember that? If we are not pairing that old school simplicity with this new school technology, this is where the problems start. So I want to help people really become comfortable with that authentic communication. But in the past few months, here we are in a pandemic. And what I noticed is that so many people need help communicating on camera, right? Just like you and I are now. We're on a Zoom, and for some people, this feels really weird because you're like, what do you mean be yourself, Renee? Like, I'm talking to a screen, right? So I decided, you know what? There's a need for this. And you always want to be thinking like, what does my client need? And my clients need help in this area. So I created a course called How to Be Yourself on Camera. And I taught it 4 times already. And it's been wonderful because I just kind of followed the trend that's still in my niche, right? It's still communication, but it's a really specific part of communication. And as I grow and as I develop, I'm still going to be teaching that broader part of communication, but now I needed to go with where my clients need help.
Man, that's just so much powerful. Like, everyone that's listening to this, make sure you write this down. This is powerful information she's providing right here. And starting a business today has never been easier. All you need is Zoom to be able to talk to your clients, or a phone to record your courses or be able to create content. And you just need social media account. I can say, like, you don't even have to spend any money to get started. Where before, if you were working a brick and mortar business, there's so many expenses that go behind the scenes, and there's no promises you would actually make it. And I feel what she provided right here is pure value.
And you know, Justin, to add to what you're saying, you're 100% right. Like, we could all start a business right now. What I'm finding, and you know, I just taught my course again 2 days ago, and I just love it so much because being yourself on camera, for all of us who are starting businesses right now, that's, I believe, the number one skill you must master, because 70% of businesses, of people, if not more, are operating virtually, right? So if you're not able to bring your authentic spirit, you know, feel calm in front of the camera and be able to really share your message in a clear, honest way, you're going to lose clients, you're going to miss opportunities, and you're not going to be able to create these deep connections with potential clients, even with family members and friends, because this is how we are communicating now. And for me, I mean, think about it. My whole business is virtual. So if I wasn't able to really be myself, and Justin, if you weren't able to really get a sense for who I was, you probably wouldn't want me on your podcast, right? Like, you'd be like, nah, I don't know. But you probably felt something within me that you're like, I don't know. I feel like there, hopefully you felt there's like an authentic spirit to her, and I feel like I know her. And that's because I've mastered the ability to just be myself. That doesn't mean perfect. That means just be myself in front of the camera.
It's so powerful too. Like, quite recently during the pandemic, I recently started another podcast called Millennial Success, interviewing all these different type of entrepreneurs, people that are making like 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, even multi-billionaires. And it was quite interesting to see the difference of behavior through each person. And I felt more you went up, like, I see these traits, like you are someone who's like a multi-millionaire or a billionaire by the way you present yourself. You're congruent and you're authentic with your messaging. And I feel that is becoming more rare because a lot more people are pretending to be someone they're not. And I feel it could be a fear of them not being enough or being rejected. So what would your advice be for someone who has that fear of not being enough when it comes to doing a Facebook Live or just getting on camera in general? Because I feel like a lot of people they're not really confident being in front of cameras doing lives, especially. Like, people can find it easy to speak in front of a camera sometimes, but not on during lives. And I feel that's where sometimes it's the best way to connect with the audience.
100%. The best piece of advice that I can give you is a few pieces, actually. So number one, remind yourself that you're having a conversation. See, I see too many people get on a live, get on a video, and I always laugh. You know, I talk about this again in my course, and everyone laughs when I do it because it's so true. And you know, people start talking and they're like, hi, my name is Renee. I'd like to talk to you about this today. And it's almost like a robot because they think they have to be perfect, right? And that's the exact thing that turns people off. Where if you, and this is a golden nugget here, my friends, when you see that light go on, that green light, that red light on your camera, and you place the person that you are most comfortable with in your life, you place them right where the lens is, and you talk to them, all of a sudden you will feel your guard go down, and all of a sudden that the fear will melt away a little bit because you're picturing your best friend, right? How often when you're talking to your best friend are you worried about how you sound and how you look? Never. So then you're able to be more yourself because you're not thinking about those things. That's number one. Number two, knowing what you're going to talk about before you talk. See, what a lot of us do, I do it too. Heck, I do it all the time. You just get on a live and then you start talking and you're like, oh crap, what the heck was I talking about? What did I want to talk about? And that's when we go off on tangents. That's when we get nervous. That's when all these fears come up and we're not able to speak. So take a minute, take 2 minutes, think about what you're going to talk about and jot down bullet points, right? Put them on a Post-it note, put them right next to the lens of the camera, and you have them there. And that way you're not freaking out when you go off on a tangent, because you can just look right next to the lens, see that word or two that you wrote, and be brought back on target.
That's powerful. Man, just like thinking about back in the day when I was a younger kid, I think I was about 22 at the time. And this is when I started presenting myself in camera. So I used to state out the obvious, like, hey guys, I'm Justin. I'm sitting right next to a lamp. And it's funny at first, people might make fun of you, but if you play the long game and you know you're failing forward towards something, that's where real confidence comes in. That's where you really focus on building that resilience mindset.
100%. Fail forward. Like, I really believe this. The only true failure is not trying. Like, talk to I'm sure all of the very, very successful people that you've spoken to, they have all failed. If you're not failing, you're not trying. And the woman who created Spanx, I'm sure you know this. We talked about it in the comeback challenge. What's her first name? Sarah Blakely. Yes. Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx. I love her story so much because she talks about how when she was little, her father would ask, what did you fail at today? And he would celebrate the failures, which is such a beautiful tactic because he was teaching his daughter, failing means you tried. And that's the real success, because the more failures you get to, the more you're developing the confidence, the stamina, you're seeing what doesn't work, and then you're closer to what does work.
Exactly. And now that we're onto this topic, like, I'm very excited to find out this. How was it the feeling when you got told you're going to be an international speaker for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi at the World Summit?
Oh my goodness. It was so incredible. I don't even know how to describe it. You know, when I got the message that, you know, they wanted me to possibly co-host the World Summit, I was like, wait, what? You know, and again, you guys, this is like insane. Like, these, you know, two people that I consider like mentors, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, to be on a stage with them, announcing them, along with all the other incredible trailblazers in the knowledge industry, Brenda Burchard, Jenna Kutcher, Jamie Kern-Lima, Trent Shelton, Pat Quinn, Pete Vargas, Barry Baumgartner. I mean, it was insane. But I had to do what I'm telling you all. I had to jump in full force. I took the leap and I trusted that the net would appear, because I had never done that before. A virtual stage. Most people have never been on a virtual stage because Tony Robbins created it for UPW back in July. I was so unbelievably excited, so grateful. And I just, you know, I had to trust myself and say, all right, Renee, you know what you're doing. You got this. Of course, right? Just like all of us. I want you all to hear this and hear this well. There is always going to be fear. There is always that voice in the back of your head that's like, really, you suck. You're gonna fail. What are you doing? Who do you think you are? That's like, as Tony Robbins says, it's a 1,000,000-year-old brain. It's designed to look for what's wrong. The trick is to realize that being courageous means taking action in spite of fear. So I just always remind myself of that. And I said, Renee, you're going to do this. It's going to be great. What an experience. And I just every day got myself ready. I was so happy and so excited. And even in the moments that I was like, what the heck is happening? What's next? I just, you know, I kept my feet on the ground. I kept my heart open, and I just trusted that it would work out.
That's powerful. Like, trust is a powerful thing. And you're absolutely right. Our brain is a survival organ, and we always look for what's wrong. And the two most common fears, this is what I read in, I don't know what's the book called again? Pitch Anything. Head noise and loud sounds. Because as soon as we hear a loud sound, it's a natural reaction for us to look around to see what's wrong. And once if we identify there's nothing wrong, we go back to what we're doing. And I love how Tony Robbins broke it down in his variation of it, which is the fear of not being loved or the fear of not being enough. And I feel those are another two powerful traits that we usually take on upon ourselves at that young age.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting. We are such complex beings as humans. And the funny part is, it's so ironic because at the core, right, any spiritual leader or spiritual teacher you'll listen to, or whatever religion you believe in, at the end of the day, it's like, it's just simple, right? We, at our core, it's like we are a soul in a human body. And the real part of us is the most quiet part. And I was telling this to my friend Carrie. I was on her podcast as well. And I said, you know, what's so interesting to me is all throughout my life, the times that I've tuned in to my intuition, to my gut, I realized that the part of us that is the truest is the part that's the quietest. And all of the loud noises, the loop, the endless snowballing in your mind. What is this? Oh my God, what am I going to do? What if I die? I'm not going to be loved. I'm not good enough. All that is the ego. But when you take the second to just tune in to like, what's deeper, what's deeper, what's deeper, you'll realize there's this quiet voice below all the noise being like, hey, I'm down here. Just, hey, Renee, can you pay attention to me? And that is the quiet voice of our soul, of our intuition. And when we listen to that, we are never steered wrong because that's who we are at our core. And everything else, all of those other layers that we've built up through the years, through being nurtured, our parents, our friends, our family, as children, all of those layers we built up, it's like our life, this life is a school, I believe, and we are students. And the way that you pass the test is to like peel back one more layer, and then you peel back the next layer. And then it's like, really, we're in this life to go in reverse, to unlearn everything that we learned.
That's right. And it's taken that approach as well to forever being a white belt in life, always being willing to learn new skills, like yourself teaching communications and myself teaching other coaches how to get into the online space. And I feel like we can learn a lot off each other as well as other coaches, because
yes,
we all have weaknesses and strengths, and we can learn something from somebody else that we consider a weakness in ourselves. And I think that's the beautiful thing about online coaching today.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's so amazing that we really are all in this together. And the older I get, the more I realize you don't get to a destination, right? Like, I think, and I still like have this belief sometimes that you're going to get to a certain point and you're like, that's it. I learned everything. I'm ready to sit pretty for the rest of my life. Nothing else to do, Renee. Have a coffee, sit on the beach, right? Like, you have this belief. And I think especially when you're younger, you think you're going to get to this pinnacle where you have learned everything. You are just ready to take on anything, and that's it. But you never stop learning. And what's so cool about being a coach and being inspired on a daily basis through my clients, through other coaches, you see that all of us need coaches. Coaches need coaches, and those coaches need coaches because we all need that guidance. We can only see as far as we can see still being in our own bodies. So we need those people who are outside of us to be like, okay, Renee, now, did you hear what you just said? That was not, if you want to use positive language, that wasn't it. And I'm like, oh yeah. And we need that. We need to help one another in that way. And once you realize that and you accept that, then you can go through life again, more open, more accepting, and you don't come at a place from ego being like, well, I'm a coach and I actually don't need your help, Justin. I have it together. So thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, I love that. But I found like what's the coolest thing about you is you're a goal-driven entrepreneur, someone who's always looking to accomplish more and create a big impact in people's lives. And I feel like you're going to make a huge difference in the next 10 years to come.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I just, look, I have this post-it literally on the computer. It's like, it says, what do my clients need now? And it's just a reminder, to not get, because it's easy sometimes to get, again, we're in this day and age of social media, highlight reels, filters on our pictures. It gets very easy to be in a state of comparison, right? So through that, it becomes easy to be like thinking about you, like, what do I need? How do I look? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, the reminder is like, what do my clients need? It doesn't matter what I need. I'm here for them, right? I'm here to serve. So I could assume all day long, oh, they need this. But just like I was saying before, that's why I started pivoting to communication on camera, how to be yourself on camera, because I recognized this deep need. So it really is, yes, I definitely always want to be growing. I want to, keep reaching new heights, but it really is so important to always like sit in gratitude, realize where you are at this moment, how far you've come. Because if you're always in this mindset of attaining, it becomes easy to leave the rest behind. But it is so important to, again, keep your feet on the ground, stay grounded, stay in alignment with yourself. And when you do that, you see like all the beauty that's around you, and then you're ready to receive what you desire in your life.
That's so true. Just thinking about it now, like some of us sometimes get lost in the map where we feel like we lose ourselves and what actually drives us. And I feel that's important to be able to have that gratitude and actually align to ourselves.
Yes. And I do want to say this because I'm going through this myself, everyone. So let's all be transparent here. As a new entrepreneur, and I was, going through this the past 2 days, there are so many moving pieces. Website, right? Facebook ads, courses, funnels, email list, this, that, oh my goodness, right? It's like endless. And it can get very easy to become overwhelmed. And in those moments, that is when you kind of get far away from yourself and what your purpose was. Because now you're caught up in the tactics, right? You're like, but my funnel's not working. And like, I don't know, should I change my sales page? And it's like so heady, right? It's so mental. And you're like, oh my gosh, what do I think about first? That is when it's most important, my friends, hear me and hear me well, to take a step back, go for a walk, meditate. Today, I had a havening session. I don't know if you know what havening is, but a tapping, if you've heard of tapping. I had a session with my friend because I needed it, because I was like, whoa, my head is spinning. And I recognized it and I was like, I need to get back to zero. So it's so important, again, to, in the midst of building your business, of all the finances and the this and that, always make, you're meditating and whatever you do to kind of bring yourself peace, always come back to that and make that a part of your business. Because otherwise, that's why people get burnt out. That's why, businesses like run for 6 months and then they're done, because you can't forget you're a human being. You're not a machine. So I just think that's really important to remember.
Beautiful. And just one last question before we wrap this up. What is 5 tips you'll give today? We really spoke about so many tips to help aspiring coach to actually get started on their online journey as a coach.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, just so I understand the question clearly. You are asking me, what would someone who wants to be an online coach?
Yes. So they're an aspiring coach, like an aspiring entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So number 1, find that person or persons who you would like to have a career like, a business like. It's really important to, you know, have those role models, even if you've never met them, right? But you're watching them online and they just inspire you, and you feel a connection to them. Like, hone in on them, watch their videos, see what they do that you like. Really try to learn as much as you can, number one. Number two, get a coach yourself. Like I said, coaches need coaches. Like, coaches need coaches. That's just it. So get yourself a coach who can help you along the journey, right? Kind of hold your hand a bit, because as I just said, it can get overwhelming. There are so many different aspects. Number three, surround yourself with people who lift you up. Have a support system of people who say, yeah, you're amazing. You got this. It's so easy to be around those people who are like, are you crazy, Justin? Really? You're going to start a business in the middle of a pandemic? Oh my gosh, that is just insane. What is wrong with you? Because even if you feel like you're the strongest person in the world, that can definitely take a toll on you. It gets into your psyche. And before you know it, you're like, yeah, what am I thinking? I'm crazy. So support system, support system, support system. Number four, have a morning routine. Have a strong morning routine that starts your day off on the right path. For me, I tell my clients, after you get up, you know, brush your teeth, do your thing. Take the time to ask yourself this one question and write about it. How am I feeling? What does this do? It automatically gets you in a communication with yourself, right? Where once you are in communication with yourself, then you know where you stand, and then you can communicate more clearly with everyone else in your life. So have a morning routine. For me, you know, I get up, I ask myself that question, I journal, I have my hot lemon and water, I do Tony Robbins priming, I work out, and then it's like, okay, boom, I'm ready for my day. Because Brendan Burchard talks about this a lot, if we immediately wake up, roll over, and pick up our cell phones, we are doing ourselves such a disservice. Because now, Brendan says this, I give credit where credit is due. He says, you check out of your life, and now you've checked into other people's lives, because you're scrolling and you're like, oh my God, so-and-so just got married. Oh my God. And already your day has started off in someone else's world. And lastly, every day, stay in gratitude. Find, even in the midst of being like, I need to start my business. What do I have to do? I'm confused. Find those things to be grateful for. Because once you do, you know, gratitude is just the antidote to fear. It's the antidote to, you know, insecurity. So again, take out that journal, take another 5 minutes and write down all that you're grateful for, even in the midst of the chaos that you may feel.
Powerful. Just powerful. That's all I have to say. And I just have to say thank you for bringing tremendous value to the show.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to say, for anyone listening, if you're interested in becoming a better communicator, you know, friend me on Facebook, Renee Marino, Master Communicators. And I have a Facebook group that is incredible. The Facebook group is called Becoming a Master Communicator Through Imperfect Action. And it's this beautiful community of people who are all looking to get better, especially on camera. So everyone goes live in the group. They just do live videos introducing themselves. And I don't know if you know this, Justin, but I just signed my publishing deal for my first book.
Wow, I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So once that's out, you know, I'll let you know, of course. But in the meantime, I'd love to, you know, have you guys join the Facebook group and reach out to me on Instagram at Renee Marino Official. And yeah, just thank you so much for having me. This was really such a joy.
Beautiful. And for anyone that's interested, I'll make sure I leave the links down below so you can actually join the Facebook community or do one of Renee's courses, or also join her mentorship program. And for our audience watching, make sure you like and leave us a 5-star review. And people watching on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you on another episode of Aspiring Coaches Podcast.